joining us on Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. In February of this year, it was announced that the University of Vermont joined the ranks of the nation's top-tier research institutions by achieving an R1 research activity designation by the prestigious Carnegie classification. And that's a program of Carnegie Foundation for the advancement of teaching, which is administered by the American Council on Education. This recognition has been hailed as a transformative moment in the university's history and is the result of decades of investment in cutting-edge research, faculty excellence, and academic innovation. And today we're going to go deep into what R1 does for UVM, Vermont, and the planet. One of the people responsible for this achievement is UVM's Vice President for Research and Economic Development, Kirk Dombrowski. While his current duties take him out of the classroom, Dombrowski began his academic career as a researcher in cultural anthropology and social and behavioral health science. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about what research looks like at UVM now that the R1 status has been achieved.
Research looks a lot like it's looked for the last few years in the sense that R1 really recognizes the achievements that we've been making and the trajectory we're on. These days, research is going strong across the entire campus. We're really excited about the growth that's happened both within the College of Medicine, which is our classic kind of tradition of mainstay research on the campus, but we've seen tremendous growth in environment, in nursing, in chemistry, and our basic sciences. We have a fantastic biology department, and of course our ag research program is very well known to your viewers, and we've just seen real growth right across the board.
Yeah, that's incredible. It sounds like R1 is more of a recognition of the achievements that have already been made.
Correct. And so what they do is they measure our accomplishments over 3 years, every 3 years. And there are certain kinds of baseline benchmarks you make. And really what it is it's a measure of how both broad and the total volume of the work that's going on. To get it, you really have to be good in a lot of different areas broadly, number of PhDs and research spending across a whole bunch of fields. And so getting that designation really says to folks outside that we have that broad base, that we have that level of accomplishment and professionalism across our entire operation.
Sure, so talk a little bit more about that. What kind of academic rigor do you need to have this?
We need to have a certain level of research expenditures, the amount of money and time, which is really a measure of time and external support. And there are thresholds in there. So the Carnegie rankings have, research universities at level 3, 2, and 1, and R1 is where you've exceeded a certain threshold, $50 million in expenditures every year, and we exceed that very far. We have for a number of years, but we've grown from $100 million a year, $120 million a year in research expenditures to almost $250 million a year in research expenditures right now. So that was a big part of it. The other piece is the number of PhDs we produce, and that's, of course, a measure of how we're contributing to the future of science and innovation across the country. And we have to be producing 70 or more PhDs, research PhDs every year on average for 3 years. And of course, we're in the 80s. And so that's a real accomplishment that, again, takes place across the entire campus. There's no one department that can do that. And that's a pipeline. It takes 5-6 years to get a PhD. So it's really a measure of how you're building that pipeline, how you're pulling in the support, and how you're continuing to push out at a high level.
Absolutely, and kind of to that point, you've described this as a star athlete signing a big contract after an MVP season.
That's right.
So what does this status look like now, and what does it mean going forward?
Sure. I mean, what it signals, the big part of it is it signals to that next generation of faculty, graduate students, and to an extent undergraduates, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it signals to them that we are a top tier place. And of course, people go into a research PhD for the purpose of making an impact on the world, and they want to know that they can go, when they take a job at a university, that it's the kind of place that's going to support that. Our ability to get folks to come here instead of going to Boston, New York, the California system, Chicago, Texas, our ability to show those people that this is a place where they can come, establish their work, and have the impacts. That's the big thing, and it signals that we're in that group, that you can come here and get the same research ecosystem as you would get at Tufts or NYU or BU or any of those other R1 institutions. Same thing for graduate students. So there's for graduate students who are going into a PhD, the kind of rule of thumb is if you want to work at an R1, you better go to an R1. And so it ups our ability to recruit that class of talent and so on. And then, of course, for undergraduates, it's not an immediate flash that we're suddenly a different university, but the quality of the people that we're able to get for the graduate students and for the faculty changes the culture of the campus. Our university functions on a teacher-scholar model, meaning that we expect our faculty to be doing in the classroom what they're doing in the lab or in the field or out in the community, and that work should inform their teaching. And that's why we're at the cutting edge as an educational institution. So our ability to get those faculty and those graduate students, those top tier, really trickles down almost immediately to the undergraduate experience.
Absolutely. And do you have to prove this R1 status again in 3 years?
We
How
do.
long does it last?
It's constant. It's 3 years. And if you don't, one of the hard parts about getting it is that then you have to keep it because it really looks bad going in the other direction. It's just as much a celebration as we have right now for getting it. It would be that big a disappointment if we lost it. But you know, the trajectory we're on, I'm really confident that our numbers of PhDs are growing. We're well in excess of the kinds of thresholds on research. So I think we're really positively poised for just a huge amount of success in this space.
Sure, so the outlook for the next 3 years is just keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah, and you know, I mean, it's a complicated time in higher education right now, but the fact of the matter is we have really talented people that continue. We're putting out as many research proposals a month right now as we were before the current federal administration. We're putting out research at 3 times the level that we were 5 years ago in terms of number of proposals and number of articles and things. So we're in really good shape to keep growing.
Yeah, that's great. And does R1 prioritize STEM over liberal arts? What's that divide?
No, not necessarily. The research PhDs can come across any place, and various kinds of funding or research expenditures. Research expenditures are the money that we spend on research. And so a good chunk of that comes from outside sources, but a good chunk of that is what we do inside the university. We spend as much as an institution of our own money on research as we do bringing it in from the outside. So in any given year, we'll bring in 150 or 200 million from federal agencies, and the university will spend about that same amount. And that's being spent in areas that are across the board: humanities, arts, social sciences, you know, really, it's fairly uniform.
Absolutely, and we've talked a lot about what it means for faculty and research and the students doing a lot of that research. What does it mean for Vermonters?
Yeah, I think, you know, we work with what we call a knowledge town framework, which was a book by some folks that we've worked with really closely over the past that says, you know, we all know what an industrial town is. We know what a country town is. We know what a farming town is. A knowledge town is a town that says you're bringing in all of this talent, all this intellectual capacity, and it should overflow into sort of every aspect of it. Our corporate partnerships right now are really robust. We have a tech hub designation. We have a new biolabs, wet lab incubator space starting. And so our ability to draw talent to the region is a way to draw economic prosperity. It's a way to draw just sheer dollars by bringing in $250 million in research expenditures. Those are jobs. Those are things we buy. Those are people who come here to work and have kids in our schools. And so I think the impact that we're having through research is really across the board in so many places.
Sure. And you're a scientist yourself, so what was the moment that you would define as kind of an aha realization moment in your research?
Oh, I mean, I think that there were a lot of different moments in my time. I started off as an anthropologist doing very straightforward community level work, one-on-one in the Arctic, which was amazing. One big aha moment was when I was at NYU with some colleagues got pulled into a project, and I watched real team science happen. And this was a collection of folks who were working together on a large project around HIV prevention in New York City in the 90s. And to watch the teamwork and to watch the coordination and to watch the ambition and the goals that they were really trying to reach to end this epidemic, that was a big aha moment for me. I thought, oh, I should be part of this. I need to be part of this sort of team science project. Yeah.
And you have some training in anthropology, of course, so how do you think that's informed your role at UVM?
Anthropologists spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to see the world from a perspective of someone else whose worldview they don't share. And I think that's been a really positive thing for me as an administrator. I think I used to coach chess in New York City for kids in elementary school, and we would do some drills. And then I would start them in a game, and I would go up halfway through the game and turn the chessboard around so that they could see what the board looked like from the other side. That's what anthropology teaches you to do. How do we turn, anthropologists can turn the chessboard around. That's what we train to do. And the ability to see the other side, the board from the other side, I think is a really positive characteristic for leading any kind of institution, but a university in particular.
Absolutely, and this program is actually airing at the start of UVM's annual Research Week. So tell me a little bit about what that event is and what it means for faculty and staff. Yeah,
Julia, this is something that we started when I first got here. We had always had a student research fair in the spring, and in my first year I thought we have so much more going on that we could wrap around this. So our first goal was to have an event every day. Let's try and have one event every day and have a real research week. Well, since then it's grown tremendously. It's everything from our partnerships and corporate mixer to our graduate 3-minute thesis competition of our PhDs. There's a postdoc fair. We have our Invention to Venture group, which is really all about our innovations and tech transfer and business spin-outs. So it went from really trying to figure out could we find something for every day now to 14 different events across the week that really showcase the full breadth of the work. And this is, as you talked about, everything from undergraduate experience to graduate students making brand new knowledge, to our partnerships and economic development and economic impact. So we try. It's now a full force, almost overwhelming actually, because I try to still go and attend and introduce every event, and that was easy when it was one event a day, and now it's 14, 16 events across 5 days, so I have a marathon. So I'm excited. It's really exciting.
Absolutely, and we're almost out of time, but quickly, we've talked a lot about what this means for UVM, but if somebody's looking at the school either for undergraduate or graduate, kind of what's your message to them about what R1 means for their time here at UVM?
Yeah, experiential learning. I mean, students today don't want to just go to class. They want to be part of the solution to today's problems. They want to be in a community that is on a knowledge journey and that values that kind of work. And what R1 signals to everyone, undergraduates, graduates, faculty, and everyone, is that we place that experience at the center of everything we do on campus. And I think for undergraduate students, that's a big differentiator. Coming to UVM is a chance to be in the midst of an experiential knowledge journey that is top tier across the country.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, of course. It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
Well, we were happy to have you, and that's our program for today. My thanks to the crew behind the scenes here at WCAX. I'm Jolie Whitney. This is Across the Fence. Have a good one.